Have you ever noticed how agile questions seem easy at first, but then they somehow become more confusing than predictive questions? Everything sounds flexible, collaborative, and adaptive, but the real challenge is choosing the best action in the situation. If yes, then you are in the right place. Last week, we talked about the golden tips for predictive questions. Now, in this video, I'm gonna share my golden tips for agile questions. These tips have been part of my best-selling PMP exam prep course for many years, and they helped thousands of students pass their exams. Also, I'll share all these golden tips, including both predictive and agile, as a downloadable PDF, so you can review them anytime. I'll tell you how to get it, so make sure to watch the video until the end to learn how. So, if you are ready, let's get started. Before we begin, I am Sabri C, founder of casePM Academy and Land of Management Academy. I teach the best-selling PMP exam prep course on Udemy, where thousands of students have already passed their exams successfully. Okay, the most crucial thing you need to know in agile environments is about the management style. In agile projects, the project manager is a servant leader. Of course, there are some rare situations where the project manager may use other management styles. For instance, in a crisis situation where the team is stuck and immediate action is required, they may temporarily act more directive to provide quick guidance. Or if the team is new to Agile and still learning how to self organize, the project manager may provide a bit more guidance at the beginning to help them gain confidence. But except for these rare situations, in Agile projects, the project manager is a servant leader. Please don't forget this. In the exam, you can answer lots of questions simply by considering that you are a servant leader. For example, if you need to make a decision, think like a servant leader. This will help you solve the question more easily. Or if you need to resolve a problem, again, think like a servant leader. With this approach, you can solve many questions easily in the exam. So, you need to know the servant leadership concept very well for the exam. Here are the most important points about servant leadership. The servant leader empowers the team members. They let people take responsibility for what they are doing. The team members are the ones doing the work, and for this reason, you should encourage them to make their own decisions. If they face a problem, they should be encouraged to solve it themselves. If they need your help or support, then you provide the assistance and support they need. Therefore, we can say that the servant leader serves the needs of the team members. You are not a directive manager. Instead, you are a central support figure for them. You are serving their needs. Please don't forget this. For example, if they need information about a process or a technique, the servant leader can provide or arrange training to help them. If there are impediments, the servant leader removes these impediments. For example, if a key stakeholder comes with unrealistic demands, the servant leader uses leadership and communication skills to help the stakeholder reconsider. Or if a company procedure slows the team down, then they talk to the people who created that procedure and try to convince them to improve or adjust it. The servant leader ensures a trustful environment within the project. For example, in such an environment, if a team member makes a mistake, they can openly talk about that mistake with others. They know that instead of being judged, the team will focus on solving the root cause. Also, in a trustful environment, people can share their opinions even if these opinions contradict others because they know they will not be punished or criticized. The servant leader actively supports and protects this environment. The servant leader also encourages stakeholder contribution to the project. Therefore, they play a bridge building role between the team and external groups. For example, if a subcontractor is not giving enough attention to the project, the servant leader talks to them to increase their involvement. Or if the project needs more attention from senior management, they use leadership skills to bring that attention into the project. In agile environments, the project objectives have to be visible to everyone, and the servant leader constantly reminds the team about these objectives. I mean, although the project objectives are visible to everyone, sometimes team members can forget them while working on the project, and they may start doing things that are not aligned with the project's goals. To prevent this, the servant leader frequently talks with them about the project objectives. Okay, all these attributes of the servant leader are helpful for motivating the team members. So, by empowering the team members, serving their needs, removing impediments, ensuring a trustful environment, encouraging stakeholder contributions, and reminding the team of the project objectives, the servant leader motivates the team. Since they are motivated, they will work more efficiently, and this is beneficial for the project. So, these are the most crucial characteristics of a servant leader. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you learn this concept well, you will be able to answer many exam questions easily. Now, let's continue with the other things you need to know for the exam. Our next golden tip is about communications. In agile environments, we always prefer face-to-face communication. Please don't forget this. If we have a problem with someone's work, we should go and talk to them directly. Or if you want a team member to do something, it is better to speak to them face to face. A face to face conversation is usually more effective than writing an email or making a phone call. This is also true even when we have virtual teams. Whenever there is an opportunity for direct communication, we should take it. For example, if it is possible to hold meetings at the head office or at another physical location, it is best to hold these meetings in person. Using a whiteboard during such meetings is also a great idea because it allows people to visually express their thoughts and collaborate more effectively. Since face to face communication is very important in agile environments, co location, meaning having the team work in the same physical place, is the best team structure. When team members work together in the same location, they naturally have more opportunities for face to face communication. If there is a critical information about the project, this information has to be shared with all team members. We want everyone to be aware of it. We don't want someone to make a mistake simply because they were not informed. That could cause rework, and we try to avoid rework as much as possible. For this reason, communication should be transparent. To make communication transparent, we can use information radiators. An information radiator is simply a visual display that provides key project information using charts, graphs, Kanban boards, burn up and burn down charts, and so on. It can be a large whiteboard or a digital screen placed somewhere everyone can easily see it. This way, people can access important information at any time. Okay, if you are enjoying the video so far, please don't forget to give it a like. Now, let's talk a little about agile approaches. First of all, it is the product owner who is responsible for creating the product backlog. When creating or updating the product backlog, they may get help from the development team, but this does not change the responsibility. The product owner is responsible for creating and maintaining the backlog. For this reason, only the product owner can change the product backlog. If someone asks you as the Scrum Master or Project Manager to change the product backlog, you shouldn't change it. Or if someone asks you to reprioritize the backlog, you shouldn't do it. Instead, you should suggest that the product owner make the change. If They do not want to change it for some reason, but the change is necessary for the success of the project, then you should use your leadership skills to convince the product owner to make the change. As another option, you may also provide training to the product owner, but the Scrum Master cannot change the product backlog. Please don't forget this. The product backlog should have a definition of done. A definition of done is a clear and shared understanding of what it means for a deliverable to be considered complete. For example, the team may decide that a user story is only considered done when the code is written, reviewed, tested, documented, and accepted by the product owner. We have a single definition of done for all items we will complete in the product backlog. It's like a checklist. So before we say something is done, we simply check whether it meets all the items on this checklist. Having a definition of done for the product backlog helps the team understand what done really means. The definition of done ensures that everyone understands how deliverables should be completed. This way, we prevent reduced quality and ensure the required level of quality is met. In the exam, you will most likely see the following three terms and you should not confuse them with one another. The review or the sprint review is a meeting held to discuss what the team has built. The demonstration of the deliverable, or the demo, is also done during this meeting. In this meeting, we discuss the deliverable itself, whether it satisfies customer requirements, whether the functions work correctly, and similar topics. For instance, the team may show the customer how a new feature works, and the customer may give feedback, or the product owner may ask clarifying questions to ensure the deliverable matches the product vision. The sprint retrospective, or simply the retrospective, is held right after the review meeting. Here, we discuss how we worked in the last sprint. In other words, we discuss the sprint process. Did we have any issues when creating the deliverable? Is there a better way to make the process more efficient? These are the types of questions we discuss in this meeting. The result of this meeting is the retrospective findings, which represent the lessons learned from the last sprint. Then, right after the retrospective, the development team pulls the remaining top items from the product backlog and creates the sprint backlog for the next sprint. They do this in the sprint planning meeting. Therefore, sprint planning is the meeting where the development team decides which requirements they will work on in the upcoming sprint. For example, if the team completed 10 story points in the previous sprint, they may choose a similar amount for the next sprint based on their capacity. When deciding on the requirements, they should consider the lessons learned from the previous sprint. In the exam, you may see one or two questions or sometimes more about Kanban. Kanban is a tool we use to visualize the flow of work and manage how work progresses through different stages. It works very simply. We place tasks on a board and move them from one column to another as the work progresses from to do to in progress and then to completed. Kanban is a visual management tool and it is a good idea to present the Kanban board on the information radiator because, as you know, the information radiator is placed somewhere visible to everyone, so displaying Kanban there makes it even more effective. When applying Kanban, we need to have clear policies. People need to clearly understand what is expected from them. They need to know how they should work, how they should move to the next step after completing their work, and so on. This way, team members can make better and faster decisions. We need to limit the work in progress. This will help us prevent our team from being overloaded and will also help us prevent bottlenecks. So, in the exam, if you get a question indicating that there is a bottleneck, then limiting the work in progress could be the best answer. But please note that there might be other reasons causing the bottleneck as well. For example, maybe the problem is not the work in progress limit, but the throughput. Maybe there is an issue with the team's efficiency. In agile environments, we want frequent feedback at various levels. In fact, we should have testing points at multiple stages so we can detect defects as early as possible. For instance, we can review the work during daily stand-ups to see if everything is going as planned, or we can perform small demonstrations to stakeholders at the end of each iteration to gather their feedback early. If we detect an issue early, the cost of fixing it remains low. This concept is known as fast failure. Since we get feedback at various levels, we will be making changes frequently. Please note that in agile environments, change is our friend. We don't have a change control board in agile, and we don't create formal change requests. If making a change will provide value to the project, then we simply apply the change. So, these are the golden tips that can help you solve agile questions easily in the exam. In the next video, I'll share golden tips that apply to every project, no matter whether the project is agile or predictive. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it. Now, if you want the full list of all golden tips, including both agile and predictive, in one single PDF, just type golden tips in the comments and I'll send it to you right away. This way, you can review all these tips very easily before your exam day. If you haven't watched the previous video about golden tips for solving predictive exam questions, you can watch it by clicking on this box right here. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.